All right, I think we're good to go. I think the camera looks pretty good. Yeah, all right. We're back. This is Gishath deck improved. I think this is number 3. I think this is video number 3. Not everyone, but there was a few people that were asking for the deck list. So I'm going to do Moxfield. Well, I actually have my computer here, right here, ready to get Moxfield up and going. So it's gonna be fun. We're gonna go through all of this. So yeah, might skim through the lands just like always. The core is obviously dinosaurs. There's quite a few instants in here. Same with artifacts. Then I'd probably say we got a decent amount of enchantments here. We'll go through the enchantments. Mana dorks, considering sorceries, which I run 3, and I'll tell you them here in a second. We're going to start with Gishath himself. Gishath here is the deck. If you guys haven't watched the other 2 videos, you don't need to. This is just going to be a revision. Going through the deck, telling my 9 years experience with this deck on how I run it, how I've learned people are supposed to run it, to make it fluent, run through combos, and how to make this deck work successfully to where you'll win a lot. Most of the time, if someone sees Gishath, Sun's Avatar, at a table or a pod or whoever you're playing with, they're going to try to kill you because, well, it's Gishath, and Gishath is really strong. So, Gishath, Sun's Avatar is the deck. I will have the Moxfield link. I should be able to link it to the video. So yeah, we're going to just go ahead and jump right into this. We're going to start with what I think is some of the most important parts, which there are a few dinosaurs and other cards in here that do the same thing, but this is just the creatures other than mana dorks that are in here that help with Gishath. So I think Gishath, a generic 7/6 Visions Trample Haste. When he deals damage, you reveal that many cards and put any number of dinosaurs from among them onto the battlefield. Stuff like Roaming Throne that says, as Roaming Throne enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type, which you would choose dinosaurs. Roaming Throne is the chosen type in addition to its other types, so it's a golem dinosaur. If a triggered ability of another creature you control of the chosen type triggers, it triggers an additional time. So when you deal damage with Gishath to get those triggers to reveal the top cards of your library, to put any number of dinosaurs from among them on the battlefield, since it has trample, most of the time it's going to be blocked by something, unless you're lucky. Let's say you get blocked for 4 and that'd be 3 damage. This would make it trigger to 6. So it makes it really powerful, and if you are able to get a full swing in, 7 turns into 14, and there's a few combos in here that can make this extremely, extremely busted to where you go through more than your entire deck and put every single dinosaur from among your entire deck onto the battlefield, which we will go over, because this is stackable. It's not like Double Strike, which I think there might be a Double Strike in here, but there's just way stronger things you can do instead of Double Strike. And I used to run like Whisper Silk Cloak and stuff like that to make him unblockable. I think you should definitely run Rogue's Passage, which we will look at that here in a second. It is a land that says Gishath can't be blocked, which is powerful in by itself, but really strong. It triggers an additional time. Xenagos, God of Revels, I think is a must include in here because at the beginning of your combat, double target creature's power and toughness until end of turn. So now instead of swinging with a 7/6, you're swinging with a 14/13. That, for example, Roaming Throne on the battlefield, you're going to get 28 triggers just from that. And there's quite a few cards in here that do this type of stuff. This is from the newer set, Final Fantasy. I'm not too knowledgeable on the actual lore of Final Fantasy, but this card is pretty powerful. First strike, trample lifelink, lightning army of 1, 1 colorless, 1 red, and you really can't see that here. Got a fan going, it's kind of going to probably fade that, but 1 colorless, 1 red, 1 white. Whenever lightning deals combat damage to a player until your next turn, if source would deal damage to that player or permanent that player controls, it deals double that damage instead. And the key word here is it deals. So, for example, if Gishath would deal 3, Gishath is going to deal 6 instead. Now, I do believe, I'm not 100% on this ruling, but if you swing, for example, Gishath and Lightning Army of 1, which I believe flying first strike trample, okay. Or no, what am I saying? First strike trample lifelink. Gishath and Lightning Army of 1. Lightning Army of 1 is going to deal damage first since it has first strike. I believe, I may be wrong about that. Then when Gishath hits, this trigger is already procced, which means instead of 7, it would do 14 or whatever. But I believe that's how that works. Either way, you play this, easily can play this a turn before you play Gishath. Hit with lightning, and then yeah, lightning is just a pretty cool card. It definitely makes it another threat because sure, it's only 3 damage, but let's say I am swinging with both of these, they either take 7 and I get my triggers, or they take a lightning army of 1 and then my next turn they're going to be taking double damage. So it kind of like makes it to where they want to block this instead of this. It just gives more options. It's just really powerful. Moving on to the sorceries. I have 3. They're really simple. 3 visits to Nature's Lore, the exact same card. They just have different names. Search your library for a forest card. Put that onto the battlefield tapped. Oh, put it onto the battlefield. Sorry, that's why these are powerful. And then shuffle. You search for a shock land or whatever, which we'll go through the lands here. I do run Sylvan Scrying. I run it because I have Cavern of Souls, Three Tree City, Ancient Tomb, stuff like that. So Sylvan Scrying is really powerful because I can search for those lands. Or I could search for example, Rogue's Passage, which is extremely powerful, which again, we will go through all those lands and I will mention this again. But those are the only ramp cards I run. I used to run Kadamas and Cultivate, stuff like that, but just the way this deck kind of comes together now, it just doesn't need them. Okay, we have some, these looks like Mana Dorks. These are all going to be pretty straightforward. Goreclaw, Terror of Coil Sisma is just extremely powerful, and it's good. It's a 4/3 for 4. Creature spells you cast with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast. Gishath Sun's Avatar is 8 mana, so it definitely costs 2 less to cast. So instead of 8, it's 6. That's a pretty huge difference for mana curve. When Goreclaw attacks, each other creature with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1 in trample. So not only does it buff Gishath just a little bit, which can make a big difference. If this is on the battlefield and it stays on the battlefield, and then I've hit with Gishath and I have now 5 dinosaurs on the battlefield, now all my dinosaurs are getting trample and a small buff, which that small buff doesn't do that much sometimes, but sometimes it can make a world of difference. But really that trample's good. It's just overall good. Oh yeah, Birds of Paradise. 1 mana, flying, add 1 mana to your mana pool. Also, this card, or this video is going to be more like for more advanced players that know what they're doing. I will try to explain some of the stuff, but if you want more in-depth definition of stuff, you should go watch those other 2 videos. But Birds of Paradise, pretty simple. Delighted Halfling is another 1 mana Mana Dork. Add 1 colorless, or add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana to cast a legendary spell. It can't be countered. Another huge part about Gishath is if Gishath gets countered, if he gets destroyed, if he gets blocked, if you have no advantage with Gishath, because with a specific Gishath deck, The entire deck revolves around Gishath. If you want to win a game and you with this deck, you need Gishath. Gishath is the win con in this deck. So protection, buffing, and protection. And more protection. More protection, the better. Protecting Gishath and getting him through is extremely powerful, especially getting him massive and then getting him through. You're pretty much just going to win the game, or everyone's going to scoop. Really good land. Like Llanowar Elf on crack. Really good Delighted Tap. Really good. Fanatic of Ronos, I think is really powerful in here because a lot of the times how it ends up playing out is I have Fanatic, I search for Goreclaw or something like that along the lines, and then all of a sudden this can tap for 4 green, and then out of nowhere I'm already casting Gishath for no reason. Other than that, it's just a 2. And then also has Internalize, so I can bring it back from the graveyard or make a token of it, which is pretty cool. And he joins up. Here we go again. It's a 4 mana enchantment that when it enters the battlefield, I can deal 5 damage to target creature, planeswalker, and opponent controls. So 5 damage is pretty good. You can kind of take out a lot of stuff that can be threatening, and it gives you a little bit of planeswalker hate, so that's kind of good. But the best part about this card is if a triggered ability of a legendary creature you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Now, this is where I don't really know. It's super hard, like all Magic the Gathering rulings, but if I have Roaming Throne and Annie joins up on the battlefield, which say the exact same thing, if a triggered ability of the chosen type or legendary creature you control triggers, it triggers an additional time. So what I think happens is if I deal 1 damage with Gishath, it triggers an additional time, and then it triggers an additional time. It wouldn't go like it's going to trigger 2 times and then 4 times or whatever. I think it just triggers 3 times, which are 2 separate triggers. So if I deal 7, it would deal 14, and then it'll deal not more 7, but from that 7, it'll be 14, 21. So I'll get 21 triggers. It's just 3 times the amount. It doesn't like quadruple the stacks or anything. I think it just is a double trigger. Land tax, 1 mana. At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search your library for 3 basic lands, reveal them, and put them into my hand and shuffle. This can be really good because, well, if you're behind on lands, which is a lot of the time at this deck, you can get back on lands and hit all your land drops, especially if that's in your opening hand. It's really powerful. Smothering Tithe says whenever an opponent draws a card, I'll just take a quick look. Smothering Tithe. I'll tell you why I'm looking it up here in a second. View options, visual grid. Okay. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player pays 2. If that player doesn't, you create a colorless treasure token. If you're playing in a 4-man, you play this on turn 4 or 3, and you have 4 mana. By the time it's your turn again, you're going to have enough mana to cast Gishath. It's extremely powerful. 90% of the time. No one ever pays the 2. Sometimes they do, but if they do, then you're also getting what you want. So it's kind of like, it doesn't matter. Also, this is why I was looking it up. It is in Phyrexia or Japanese. I think it's Japanese, but can't read it. Sylvan Library is another really good card that is in here. Did I spell it wrong? I don't understand. But what? trying to do this as I go, and it's not wanting to work with me. So, Sylvan Library is an enchantment. 2 mana, 1 colorless, 1 green. At the beginning of your draw step, you may draw 2 additional cards. If you do, choose 2 cards in your hand drawn this turn. For each of those cards, pay 4 life or put them on top of your library. So it's either cycling or you get 2 extra draws on your turn. And this is just extremely powerful. It's extremely powerful. Getting extra draws is amazing. Mirari's Wake. I'll show that. Can't really see it too well because like the lighting is kind of off. But Mirari's Wake says 3 colorless, 1 green, 1 white. Enchantment, creatures you control get +1/+1. And whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana that land produced. Or an additional mana that land produced. So it makes your lands tap for 2. 5 mana, so you're on curve right there. You play Mirari's Wake, next turn you're able to cast Gishath. Really powerful, really powerful. Artifacts. The Great Hinge. 9 mana. It costs X for equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Taps for add 2 green, gain 2 life. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it and draw a card. So it's giving you life gain, it gives you draw, it gives you +1 counters, it gives you mana. It's broken. You can play it for 2 mana. Busted. The One Ring. Indestructible. 4 colorless artifact. Whenever the One Ring enters the battlefield, you have protection until your next turn, and protection from everything. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the One Ring. Tap the One Ring, put a burden counter on the One Ring, and draw a card for each burden counter on the One Ring. So I play it, I get protections, I tap 1, I draw, pass, take a damage, tap it for 2, draw 2, pass, or whatever it is. Take 2 damage, untap it, tap it, put another burden counter, draw 3. So it gives you protections and a ridiculous amount of draw. Another thing I found with Gishath is you really don't need that many draw. Like, the One Ring is plenty good enough. The Great Hinge is really good. And then there's going to be a couple other cards in there that do give draw. It's just powerful. You also aren't trying to draw a total, like a whole lot in this deck. A little bit, only if you need to. Other than that, you kind of want your deck to be full because you want to hit with Gishath for a bunch and not draw into those big dinosaurs. You want to hit them with Gishath. So it's kind of, that's what you're trying to do. The Skullspore Nexus, or the Skullspore Nexus, same thing as the Great Hinge, except it costs 8 and it's equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. So you can pay it for 2 mana, and then whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a fungus dinosaur creature token equal to the total power of all those creatures. So if someone board wipes me, I can create a giant dinosaur. And then for 2 mana, I can double target creature's power until end of turn. Once again, doubling Gishath, you win the game. Scroll Rack. 2 mana. For 1, tap it, choose any number of cards in your hand, set those aside, put an equal number of cards from the top of your library into your hand, and then put the cards aside on top of your library in any order. So it's a really, really good cycling card. And that can be really powerful in here. If you draw into a bunch of big dinosaurs, you play Gishath, you tap this, put all your big dinosaurs back on top, and then you draw. It's just powerful. It's really good. Lotus Petal for 0 mana. Sacrifice a Lotus Petal. Add 1 mana of any color. It's just a free mana. Can be powerful at times and can give you that mana you need. I've had that happen a lot. That's why it's in here. Some people won't run it, some people will, but Lotus Petal can be powerful. Chromatic Lantern, 3 mana, lands you control have add 1 mana of any color, so it mana fixes and then it adds 1 mana of any color by itself to tap. So, pretty cool, really good. I run it because it's the only mana fixing I have in here besides Regal Behemoth and, what is that card? Mirari's Wake. I guess you can count Smothering Ties as that too, but not really. Urza's Incubator, 3 mana, enters the battlefield, choose your creature type. Creatures of the chosen type cost 2 less to cast. So, once again, getting Gishath cheaper, get him out faster, attack with him as soon as possible, make him big, you win. Chrome Mox, 0 mana, pitch a card, so you exile a card underneath it, and then it taps for any of the colors of the exiled card's colors. So if I exile, for example, Smuggler's Surprise, taps for a green, which we'll get into those in a second. And it's 0 mana, so it's more or less a free mana at times. Soul Ring. I really hope everyone that's seeing this isn't so new that you don't know what a Soul Ring is. 1 mana, add 2. That's it. Really good. Just gives you that extra mana. Can be really powerful. Mana advantage in this game is extremely, extremely good. Arcane Signet. 2 mana, add 1 mana, and if any color of your commander color's identity. So yeah, that's it. Oh, excuse me. Sneezing. Alright. We have instants. Okay, so the instants are extremely important. They've got a little bit of everything in here. Smuggler's Surprise. 1 mana plus. So you can spree, so you can choose any additional costs. For 1 and 2 colorless, you can mill 4 cards. You may put 2 creature cards or land cards from among them milled cards into your hand. For 5 plus, you can put 2 creature cards from my hand onto the battlefield, and then for 1 plus, creatures you control with power 4 or greater gain hexproof and indestructible. So it's a Heroic's Intervention. It's a lot of times you draw into the big creatures that you don't want to cast because you're trying to hit them off a Gishath. So for 6 mana, you can put 2 9-drops or whatever from your hand onto the battlefield. It can be really powerful, and then it can cycle your cards out. This card is 3 cards in 1. And if you have the mana, you can do all of them. You can do more than 1. Yeah, 1 or more additional costs. So yeah, you can pretty much... Yeah, this card is busted. Really powerful, and there's one other like that. Legion Leadership is a land, but it's also an instant. And it says, until end of turn, double target creature's power, and it gains first strike. So once again, doubling Gishath, and it can be a land, so... Having utility and variety is extremely good as well. Tifa's Limit Break. This card, I think, is busted. It was from Final Fantasy. For 1 mana, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, so buffing Gishath. For 3 mana, double target creature's power and toughness until end of turn, Gishath. And then for 8 mana, which you should have, because Gishath does cost 8. And if you don't, you can always double the target creature's power, but tripling target creature's power and toughness until end of turn as an instant is nuts. Imagine you got Gishath on the battlefield, and most likely you have something else that's doubling its power. So let's say it's a 14, or let's just say it's a 7/6. It's normal power and toughness. You swing with it, they're like, I'll just take it. I'll take it, I'll be fine. And then out of nowhere, you're just like, yeah, I'll give it triple the damage. That is crazy. So it would immediately be 21. And that would kill them. So, yeah, because of commander damage. And then instant speed, doubling something's power is just really powerful, really good. And on 1 mana, get +2/+2 until end of turn also seems kind of good. Beast Within. I love this Beast Within. This is such a sick Beast Within. I really love this art. Destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. Kill the weak so they can't drag the strong down to their level. This is true compassion. Yeah. Really cool. And it's any permanent. So you can destroy their land if you want to, which would be really funny. But this card is really powerful. Aldamari's Call is in here. I forgot I put this in here. I thought I had taken this out, but it's really good. Search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand. Now, normally you don't want that, but there's other cards in here that do that, which we'll go over eventually. This is the only card I have in here that puts it into my hand, because normally you don't want to put them on your on top of your library. No. Normally you don't want to put them in your hand in this deck because you want to search for dinosaurs to put on top of the deck so you can hit them off a Gishath. But I have one of these in here because it costs 2, and then early game, if you need to search for Goreclaw or a few other cards we'll go over, then you can. 2 mana, search your library for a creature, put it into your hand. Now here we are. Congregation of Dawn, 1 extra mana, search your library for 3 creature cards, put them on top of your library in any order. This is so good. You could search for Goreclaw, draw it, and then you have 2 giant dinosaurs underneath it. You play Gishath, and then you hit the 2 giant dinosaurs guaranteed. Really powerful. Really powerful. Generous Gift is the exact same thing as Beast Within, except it's a white instead of green. So, destroy target any permanent, they create a 3/3. And it's any permanent, really good. Teferi's Protection, here we are, protections, really good. For this deck, for 3 mana, until your next turn, your life total can't change, and all your stuff phases out until end of turn. So, really good. Or no, until your next turn. Akroma's Will, my win con. Akroma's Will says if you control your commander, choose both. If not, you only choose one. For 4 mana, creatures you control gain Flying, Vigilance, Double Strike, Lifelink, Indestructible, and Protection from all colors. So if you play this, you're winning the game. Like every time. Pretty much. So, really good. Worldly Tutor, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it on top. So for 1 mana, you can search for a guaranteed dinosaur, or if you do need to use it for searching for something like Goreclaw, can. Swords to Plowshares, exile target creature, its controller gains life equal to its power. For 1. Really good. Flawless Maneuver. Here we go, these are really busted. If you control your commander, you may cast this without paying its mana cost. So if I control Gishath, I cast this for free. Creatures you control gain Indestructible until end of turn. It's that simple, but I can cast it for free if I have my commander, and if 90% of the time they're trying to destroy Gishath, I can give them Indestructible for free. Really good. For 2 mana, Heroic's Intervention. Permanents you control gain Hexproof and Indestructible until end of turn. Really good. For 2 mana. Deflecting Swat. Here we go again. I can cast it for free if I control my commander. I may choose new targets for target spell or ability. So if they're trying to destroy him, if they're anything along the lines of that, like counter him or whatever, I can just choose something else. And then all of a sudden, Gishath is safe. And I get to swing with him or whatever. Path to Exile. Same as Swords, except they search for a land instead of gain life. A lot of people should know these cards. Path to Exile is 1 white, exile target creature. Same as Swords to Plowshares. This is just Path to Exile. I recently added this card because I think it is so fun, and everyone loves this card so much. Silence. For 1 white, your opponents can't cast spells this turn. So basically, I can play this, and let's say I have Gishath out on the battlefield or whatever it is. I now am untouched by any of their stuff until end of turn, unless they block. That's pretty much all they can do. Because they can't even buff their own stuff or give themselves indestructible because they can't even cast spells. Zadolpa Primal Dawn. Okay, so these are the dinosaurs. This is core. There is definitely a few dinosaurs in here. I think there might be 30. Count real quick. So 27. A little light. I would try to run 30, but just the way this deck's kind of come together ends up being powerful enough that I'll be able to double him enough that I'll be able to go through and get plenty of dinosaurs. Especially 27 is not bad. So Zadolpa Primal Dawn is a... I'm not even going to tell you the costs because you should never... I'll tell you the cost of the ones you should hard cast, but other than that, none of these should be getting hard cast. They should be getting hit off a Gishath. Flying, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample, Indestructible, 4/8. If you hit that off a Gishath, you're in pretty good shape. You could hard cast this. It's 4 colorless, 1 white. If a source would deal damage to another dinosaur you control, prevent all that damage but 1, so it makes most of your dinosaurs unkillable. That card's really powerful. Aganosaur Rex. I put this in here because it has so much utility. Another thing about this is you want big dinosaurs, but you also want to be able to do something with them if they're in your hand. This is 5 mana, so it's kind of castable. It's a trample 8/8, so if you hit it off a Gishath, you're getting a trample 8/8, so that's great. Or you can cycle it for 3 from your hand and put 2+1 counters on target creature control and against trample and indestructible until end of turn. This utility is crazy. Aganosaur Rex is amazing. Really good, beautiful include to the deck. Quartzwood Crasher, you could also hard cast. It costs 5. And you can run away with the game with this card alone. It's a 6/6 that says, with trample, that says whenever a creature you control with trample deals combat damage, you create an XX green dinosaur creature token equal to that damage. So you just start creating giant ass creatures. And I ran away with the game with this card. I won the game with that card. Regal Behemoth, here we are. You can also hard cast this really if you wanted, or hitting off of. I've searched for this if I need to. It can be powerful at times. For 6, trample, Regal Behemoth enters, you become the Monarch, so it gives you card draw, and then whenever you tap a land for a mana, as long as I'm the Monarch, you tap an additional mana of any color, so it doubles your mana, which can be really, really good. Can get you Gishath out if you need it. Atali Primal Conqueror is a 7/7. That says when it enters, each player mills the top of their library. Each player, so you as well, mills the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. I may cast it without paying its mana cost, so you just get a bunch of free spells. It's awesome. And then, of course, you can pay 9 and 2 life or pay 10 and transform it into an 11/11 Infect Indestructible. And if you deal 10 Infect, you just win the game. So you can just start taking players out with that. Coglin Yadaro is another perfect example of utility. It's a 7/7. It's slightly castable, so it costs 7. Or no, it costs 6. So a little bit castable. If it enters the battlefield, you can give it haste, or you can have it fight target creature, or you can pay 4 to discard Coglin Yadaro and destroy an artifact or enchantment, and then shuffle it into your library from your graveyard, and you draw a card. So if you hit it off a Gishath, you get a 7/7. It can fight or gain haste, which you would just have it fight something. Or you can discard it, destroy target artifact enchantment, and get a card draw. This card is simply just the epitome of what you want in a Gishath deck. Once again, another perfect example. 6 mana, so kind of castable. 7/6, Trumpeting Carnosaur says, when Trumpeting Carnosaur enters, discover for 5, so you'll get a free spell. And then for 3, you can discard it, and it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker, so it gives more utility. Sorrow Nemesis says, for 4, I'll show. I think you can kind of see these pretty well down here, so I'm not too worried about it. But Sorrow Nemesis enters, choose a player. If a source would deal damage to that player or permanent they control, it deals double that damage. So since it says it, if Gishath would deal 5 damage, Gishath would deal 10 damage instead, so you get those triggers. So it's another doubling Gishath card, really good. Wrathful Raptors is one of the best dinosaurs in here. Whenever a dinosaur you control is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target that isn't a dinosaur. So if someone Blasphemous Axe, which deals 13 damage to each creature, you can just kill everybody on the board and you win the game. Ghalta Primal Hunger, it's a 12/12. That costs 12. That costs X less to cast for X's total power, and it has trample, so you can cast it for 2 green if you have enough power on the battlefield. Or you just get a 12/12 for free from Gishath. Sun for Limitator is also really good because it costs 3 and you can play it, and then you can have it become a copy of target dinosaur and make it another Gishath. So you swing with 2 Gishaths. So it's really, really good. Another thing, doubling Gishath. Regal Impresaur costs 3. It's a 5/4 that says other dinosaurs you control get +1/+1. It's called a Lord. It's really good. Silverclad Ferocidons is an 8/5 that says when it's dealt damage, each opponent sacrifices a permanent. So really powerful. Apex Altasar is a 10/10 that says when it enters the battlefield, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. And when it has an enrage ability, when it is dealt damage, it fights a target creature you don't control. So it basically enters the battlefield, kills everyone on the board, and then eventually dies. But if you have Temple Altasar on the battlefield, for example, or you give it indestructible, Well, actually, Indestructible wouldn't work because it wouldn't be dealt damage. But for example, Temple Altasar, you would just fight, and then it would die. Zakama Primal Calamity, if it enters, if you cast it, untap all lands, and then it has a few abilities. I don't need to read them. Galton Marvin's a 12/12 for 7 that you can create tokens when you attack with it, so you can just hit that off the top. It's really good. Vaultborn Tyrant is a 6/6 that if it dies, you create a copy of it, and whenever you cast a creature with power 4 or greater, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Hunting Velociraptors is 3. When it's dealt damage, you can pay 3 to play any dinosaur. So you deal damage, you can cast Gishath for 3. You can cast any dinosaur for 3. So it's really, 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 really good. Kinjali Sunwing is 3 mana, flying. Creatures your opponents control enter tapped. This can give you a free Gishath trigger depending on if you get it sooner or not, or it's just really powerful because their stuff entering tapped can end up winning you the game. Ravenous Tyrannus is one of the most powerful cards in here. It has Devour 3, so when it enters the battlefield, you can have it sacrifice a bunch of stuff, and then you get a bunch of +1 counters on it, and it says whenever Ravenous Tyrannus attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to up to 1 target creature. Excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead. So you can just start nuking the board and then smacking your opponent for a bajillion damage. You can win the game with that card alone. Verdant Sun's Avatar says whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to its toughness, so you start gaining 1 billion life for all your Gishath triggers. Tyrannix Rex is an 8/8 with Trample, Toxic 4, Ward 4, and Haste. Couldn't ask for more for a dinosaur, especially hitting off of Gishath. Galta Stampede Tyrant, if you hit this off of Gishath and you have a bunch of big dinosaurs in your hand, it says when Stampede Tyrant enters the battlefield, put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield, so you get to cheat all those onto the battlefield. Or if you really can't get Gishath in and you have this in your hand, it also costs 8, so you play that and then you drop a bunch of cards. Then you can kind of become a threat and then go from there. Godzilla Doom Inevitable is for 2. You can cycle it, so discard and draw. And then if you discard, it goes back in your library, which is perfect. Because if it's a big card in your hand, you don't want to cast it. You want to hit it off Gishath. You can get it back in your library. Otherwise, it's a Trample Haste 8/8. Really good for hitting off a Gishath. Baalam T-Rex is another pretty good example. When it enters, you gain 3 life, so you get a little bit of utility off of it entering. It's a 6/6 with Trample, so it's pretty big. And if it's in your hand, you can forest cycling it for 2, so you get a search for a forest. So it's pretty good. Carnage Tyrant is a 7/6 that can't be countered and has Trample and Hexproof. So it's a pretty decent dinosaur. And then other than that, I'm running 32 lands, 2 reds, 2 whites, 2 greens, and everything else is going to be like Firelit Thicket, so mana fixing, brush lands, overgrown farmlands, just Temple Garden, Stomping Ground, Sacred Foundry, 3 Tree City, Command Tower, Carpal Sun Forest. So they're just a bunch of dual lands that are the good dual lands that don't enter tapped, because I really don't like entering tapped. I may run an Evolving Wilds every now and again, but I really don't like tapped lands. Grove of the Burn Willows, Cavern of Souls, Ancient Tomb, Rogue's Passage, which Rogue's Passage is one of the best cards in here. This card has won me the game so many freaking times. Adds 1 colorless, and then for 4 mana, target creature is unblockable. You can seriously just win the game off of this card alone. So yeah, that's it. That's the deck. I'm probably going to end up posting it on Moxfield, and then I'll link it to the video that I'm going to post here, which is this video. And yeah, this is the new and improved, pretty much $1,300 Gishath deck. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was entertaining. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching, and heck yeah, I'll hopefully post that Moxfield for you. See ya!